What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao, and thanks for joining us tonight for the news. The U.S. has blocked bicycles and other products made by Taiwan company Giant over alleged forced labor. Giant disputes these allegations and says it will petition to lift the order. Chris Gorn reports on how these accusations are tied to conditions for migrant workers.
The United States has blocked imports of Taiwan-made products from Giant, the world's largest bicycle manufacturer, citing concerns about forced labor. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, says it will detain all bikes, parts, and accessories made in Giant's Taiwan factories. CBP says it identified several indicators of forced labor as defined by the International Labor Organization, including abusive vulnerability, abusive working and living conditions, debt bondage, withholding of wages, and excessive overtime. And they say that Giant profited by imposing such abuse, resulting in goods produced below market value and undercutting American businesses. At issue here seems to be the conditions for migrant workers employed at Giant's Taiwan factories. And these workers come mostly from Southeast Asia. And in particular, this issue of what's called debt bondage, where workers pay thousands of US dollars in upfront fees to get these jobs, which can take years to pay back. Between the debt and the fact that their visa is tied to a single job, many of them are effectively bound to their employers until the debt is paid. In response to the order, Giant says it's committed to upholding human rights and labor protections, and it has taken actions, including implementing a zero recruitment fee policy, under which all recruitment agency and government-related fees for newly hired migrant workers will be paid by the company. And last year, they say they completed upgrades to employee housing. In a further statement to TaiwanPlus, Giant says the CBP has never conducted any on-site investigation at its Taiwan facilities, and the company has never been contacted by CBP for interviews or inquiries, and that it was surprised by the order. Taiwan's economy ministry also responded, saying they intended to help the company restore its reputation and help resolve the forced labor issues it may be involved in. Now, on the U.S. side, I spoke to an American trade lawyer earlier today who told me that it's quite common that in these forced labor findings, the evidence is not made public, and that it's really on the companies themselves to demonstrate what they've done to improve.
If you look at CBP's guidelines and how they want companies to respond, they basically want companies to go do the legwork of investigating their own sort of labor situation and then prove up to CBP and say, look, we've looked at everything. We have had outside auditors, third-party auditors, unannounced site visits, all the whole 9 yards.
While these orders have been placed against individual Taiwanese boats before, this is currently the only order against a Taiwanese company. But with the ongoing trade tensions and trade talks between the U.S. and Taiwan, many here may be wondering if it will be the last. Devin Tsai and Chris Gorn in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan decided not to go ahead with chip export controls aimed at South Africa, at least for now. The government announced on Tuesday that it would start requiring approval for exports of 47 items, including chips. And that comes after South Africa downgraded and renamed Taiwan's 2 representative offices in the country earlier this year as South Africa moves closer to China. It has also been pressuring Taipei to move its office from the capital of Pretoria to Johannesburg. Taiwan's foreign ministry says South Africa is now willing to talk, so the chip restrictions have been paused. Since August, the Trump administration has hinted at a 100% tariff on semiconductor imports with exemptions for the firms that invest in the U.S. But key details remain unclear. In our news show, DC Insiders, Sarah Stewart, CEO of the Silverado Policy Accelerator, explains what this could mean for Taiwan and for the world.
Trump has said that numerous times that tariffs on semiconductors are coming, and it's going to be a 100% tariff on all semiconductors. But those who invest in the U.S. will be exempt. What more have you heard other than these 2 things? What is the potential roadmap for the rollout of this tariff?
In August, President Trump had announced this 100% tariff. We've not seen any tariff announcement since that point that would provide a little bit more detail. And I think that the reason why is that the president is looking to get this right and working with companies, both U.S. Semiconductor companies as well as foreign semiconductor companies, to think about what does a real semiconductor plan look like
and
for
what
the
does it
U.S.?
look like? I mean, really, because it's so complicated. And from your conversation in particular with commerce officials and maybe industry people, what's it gonna look like possibly?
Yeah, so I think that there's going to be two big components to watch for. One is, what does the investment piece of this look like?
So that's foreign investment?
That's foreign investment or U.S. company investment. I think the administration is really looking for hard commitments from the private sector of what are they going to do to increase fabrication capacity in the U.S. because it has fallen over time to many countries, but in the mature, or what we call at Silverado, foundational nodes, China has taken on such a leadership role that it is projected in the next few years to have so much production capacity in those foundational nodes, that's 28 nanometers and above, that it will be twice as large as even Taiwan. So, you know, we have to think about where are we going to get the investments, and then what is the tariff regime going to look like? Here, I think what we're going to see is this is going to take the form of a component tariff. And what does that even mean?
Yeah, what does
right?
that mean?
So this is new parlance in DC that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Traditionally, a tariff goes on the item as it's imported into the United States.
Like a complete item.
Like a chip or a wafer.
Okay.
So we import about $2 billion worth of chips in their sort of raw form, where they're not embedded into something else. A component tariff would actually put a tariff on the value of a chip that is produced in China or maybe in another foreign country, while it's coming into the United States embedded in another product, so in a phone or in a car, for example. So this is,
but that's really hard to trace down and calculate, right?
This is, we don't have a system in place right now where we are requiring not even the U.S. government as a procurer, let alone the private sector importers, to know exactly where all of the chips are that are inside of the downstream product that they are bringing in. So this would require a lot of different details to be flushed out. So I think, you know, as we're thinking about, you know, where this is going, these are the things that I would keep in mind. On the investment side, and then on the tariff side, we have to be looking at what is a component tariff regime going to look like? How much of the downstream market that includes chips will be covered by this? Because that's going to dictate what the economic impact will be.
But is your sense that, you know, Commerce Department, I assume, is taking the lead on this, is consulting or speaking to the private sector?
Yeah, and I absolutely think that that's happening. I think that companies are having conversations at the highest levels of government. How that's going to translate in the end is still uncertain, but those conversations are taking place, and I think that, you know, everybody is trying to get to the same place of increasing production capacity here while also protecting that investment.
That was Sarah Stewart, CEO and Executive Director of Silverado Policy Accelerator and a former official with the U.S. Trade Representative's Office. The full interview will be out in early October on our news show, DC Insiders. Taiwan is slapping steep anti-dumping duties on beer and steel products imported from China. From September 24th, Chinese-made beer, including those brewed for Budweiser and Kirin, now face duties between 19% and 52%. At the same time, some hot-rolled flat steel products will be subject to duties between 16% and 20%. Taiwan's customs officials say the move will protect domestic industries by countering unfair Chinese trade practices. The Taiwan Brewers Association says the anti-dumping duties would help ease the short-term impact on Taiwan's beer industry. Destructive floods from an overflowing dam in eastern Taiwan have devastated the town below. Exhausted residents are now receiving support from across the country, even after Typhoon Ragasa has passed. Irene Lin reports.
Fresh aid at this church in eastern Taiwan, now a temporary home to hundreds of residents affected by devastating flooding in Guangfu Township in Hualien. There's enough food and water to last a few days, but some evacuees say they feel helpless about the state of their flooded homes.
目前我们比较缺少的是善后的处理，有一些的那个 因为毕竟淤泥太严重了，所以我们有一些的需要那些的设备。我们也担心是说淤泥一之后，我们所有的那个田地如何去分割，我们都不晓得那些的经费如何去寻取，也透过这个镜头来去跟中央来去寻求资源，我们未来的善后恢复以及我们所有田园的恢复的一个复原的一个状况。
Most of the town has been cut off from water supply and gas after Typhoon Ragasa brought torrential rains, causing a lake in the mountains above to overflow and pour down into the town below, killing at least 14 people as of Thursday. Chefs from Hualien City and other parts of the country are volunteering to cook warm food for the people here, even offering to hold their businesses until necessary.
食材啊，一些器具，我们就一起全部把它集合到这边来。3-5天跑不掉吧？对啊，还是要看状况啦，看这边的状况，因为还有一些搜救队啊，有一些我们的花莲的一些重机具的一些人，他们在这边，他们也要用餐啊。这个教会就已经将近700个了吧。
First responders from around the country have gathered here to help track down missing residents. As of Thursday, 22 are still unaccounted for, and they're scrambling to dig houses like this out of the mud.
那我们现在试图要再去把最后一个失联者把他找出来，
必须要把里面的周围的泥巴挖出来，或让它泄水，因为里面都是有那个水嘛。那水量太多，你人也不方便去找人，或者是在搜救啊。
Meanwhile, President Lai Ching-te and Defense Minister Wellington Koo have come to oversee recovery progress at the local water purification plant, which was also damaged by the overflowing river, as well as checking up on the soldiers stationed here to help with the cleanup. Rescue and recovery operations are still underway in Guangfu. As emergency teams and volunteers arrive, they work to bring hope to the community. Fu Huahong, Heng Xu, and Irene Lin in Hualien for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has unveiled its very first robot dog to prevent and respond to chemical accidents. Bought from the U.S., this robot can enter high-risk zones in the place of humans. It can check for hazardous chemicals in complex environments and transmit images and data in real time back to its handlers to reduce human exposure. The robot's introduction marks an important step in protecting the country's first responders.
我们的技术小组，即便要在热区去做甄检，穿着 A 护防护衣，带着氧气瓶，其实它能够在里面坚持的时间大概就30分钟，就要再撤退出来，所以要换另外一批人进去，而且下一秒钟会发生什么事情也并不清楚，所以我们才要利用这样的，尤其是机器犬，它可以比较长时间的在那里做甄检传输这个数据，让我们做最好的一个后面的一个救灾的行动。
The government hopes to make Taiwan a center for toxic chemical response technology and training in East Asia and to develop its own robot detection dog. The Ocean Affairs Council has released a new white paper on maritime policy. At an event held to announce the paper, Vice President Bi Khim-hsiao spoke about the need for high-tech solutions for security in Taiwan's waters.
我们必须导入各种科技与现代化的船舰。 包含 AI、无人载具等3D 立体的科技投入，才能有效提升我们辛苦在第一线拼搏的海巡、同仁、海域执法以及维权的能量。
The paper comes as Taiwan increases efforts to fund new patrol vessels and to remove illegal sand dredgers from Taiwanese waters. This is all part of efforts to combat China's so-called gray zone tactics used against Taiwan. The new white paper includes strategies and policies related to the sustainability and security of Taiwan's waters. And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, check out a donkey, a banana car, and a skateboarding pig. Highlights from the latest Guinness World Records. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.